Hi there, you're watching Captain TV and I'm your host Kunshmo_developer. In the last episode, we explored the basics of the Kodular Creator workspace and we also created a project with our glorious button 1. Today we'll be returning to it and adding some interaction to the project, and as I had mentioned, it's always a great idea to add Kodular Creator to your bookmarks bar, and just like that we're in the creator. I'll open PR1. It doesn't take too long to open your project, but it will depend on the project size and your internet connection, among other factors. Now, we still have the glorious button 1 here, and if I head over to the blocks section, you'll see that the blocks are just as we left them in the last episode. I'll get rid of most of these, except our hello world. As you can see, just as I dragged the initialize global variable block into the trash can, these blocks right here have a red cross on them. If you remember, I had shown this area right here in the first episode. What this does is it tells us how many warnings the project has and how many errors the project has. Of course, these are only counted in the blocks area because you can't really have warnings and errors in the designer. Now, as you can see, it shows 2 errors and we have 2 red crosses here. Now you may ask, what's the difference between a warning and an error? Well, as any coder would tell you, you can usually ignore your warnings, but you should never ignore an error. And these red cross blocks right here, these will cause runtime errors in your app if you just let there be errors. So we'll get rid of the errors. Usually you have to debug errors. Here we know what caused the error, and yeah, since we were getting rid of the blocks anyway, we can safely just delete them. But as you can see again, just as I deleted the procedure definition, the to procedure name do this, just as I deleted that block, the call procedure is invalidated. The procedure name, since it doesn't exist anymore in the project, will be replaced by none. And if I click here, you will see I can't select anything. You might wonder, if there's procedure 2 over here, why can't I select procedure 2 here? Well, this is a return type call and this is a do type procedure. We discussed that in episode 1, and if you haven't watched it, I seriously recommend going back, giving it a watch, and then coming back here, because a lot of what we do will depend on stuff we discussed in the earlier episode. Anyway, we will continue with dragging blocks off into the trash can, and now we are left with our glorious hello world. You might wonder why I have kept this, because it's not plugged into anything and blocks do not do anything by themselves. They have to be triggered. Alright, and of course, you can't see the inner data of your app as I discussed in the earlier episode. You have to have a user interface that gives you that data, usually in a more pretty way, because you really don't want to look at raw JSONs and lists and whatnot. Anyway, we'll go ahead and drag a notifier into the project. Now let's say you don't know where the notifier is. Of course, for the notifier you can just see it right here in the default user interface category, but let's assume for a second you don't know in which category it is and you don't want to waste time searching for it. Well, let the creator do it for you. Just like that, I typed into the search bar. I don't have to type the whole component name, it will just shortlist with each character. As you can see, the first shortlisting is at N, then at O, then at T, and since both of these are notifier and notifications, the up to this second I, these are the same, so there will be no further shortlistings here. And once it's such a shortlist, it's usually easy to just grab what you want. Anyway, with the notifier 1, we have a way of showing stuff to our user. We'll click on button 1 here and drag this block into the blocks workspace. This says when button 1 dot click. What this means is when button 1 is clicked, you get used to this very quickly. So when button 1 dot click do, that nomenclature won't be foreign for long, since we'll be using it so much. Now we click on notifier 1 and we are interested in the alert block. Again, let's say you don't want to search in this list. Now I know it's here. Notifier 1.show alert, notice. Let's say I don't. What will I do? I'll just type into the blocks workspace. See, I just typed alert. There's only one block available right now. That's called notifier 1.show alert. I just click enter. The block is created. I drag it here. And as the notice, we will show hello world. Pro tip. If you aren't sure what a block does, just hover over it. And as you can see, the notify n.show alert block shows an alert toast message. Now, there's a little grammatical error in the tooltip here, but let's not pay any attention to that. And just like that, what this group of blocks will do is when the button 1 is clicked, it will call the notify 1's show alert method with the argument hello world. In simple terms, an argument is some data that you give to a procedure. So coming back to the analogy I presented in episode 1, that's you going to the shop to buy something. If I give you $100 to buy something, that $100 is the argument, because that's what I'm handing you in order for you to be able to carry out the procedure. And then, as I discussed, it's either a do procedure where you just do what you want, I don't get to know what you did, or it's a return procedure wherein you will buy the stuff and then return me whatever you bought. Alright, so this is a very short episode because the next step in app creation with Kodular is to test out your app, and that is a great topic that deserves an episode all by itself. That's why I'll leave it here for now. A very short episode with some basic interaction going on, some insights on how the block section works.
Let me know if you prefer these shorter videos or the longer ones, because I'm taking into account all the feedback I get. As always, a thumbs up and subscribe massively helps. Stay tuned for more videos and happy coding.